how much company value you've been able to create over the course of your consulting career.
Yeah.
What was that number?
It's been about $4 billion.
This is the Million Ways to Millions podcast, where we discover if building wealth is still possible today. Join me, Micah Hayworth, as I dive deep with the everyday success stories of those who built wealth in a variety of ways. Whether you're seeking actionable advice, inspiration, or a roadmap to financial freedom, this podcast offers insights from those who have achieved it before. Now for the episode.
Aaron, thank you for coming on the Million Ways to Million podcast.
For having me. I appreciate it.
I love hearing your story. I've chatted a bit before this of kind of hearing how you started working even at an Apple store and your kind of the connections you made along the way and the introductions you made that were able to move you along in the career path you ended up going on.
Yeah.
I'd love just to hear a little bit about that job, how that happened, and then how those connections made along the road. But first, just give me a quick introduction. Who are you? Yeah. What have you done? Why do people want to listen for the next 45 minutes?
For sure. My name is Aaron. I have made most of my career in the multifamily housing space, mostly in a consulting, owner's rep, and development capacity, and in a lot of supportive services for it. So in today's world where I feel like everything on social media is telling everyone to get into real estate, I've experienced all sides of it and know what works well and what doesn't go quite as advertised and everything in between. And it's been a wild ride, and it's changed a lot over the last few years, but it's been a really fun ride, and it's a storied journey along the way.
I love it, man. Awesome. Yeah, it's crazy thinking about the practical experience you get when you actually start doing it. Makes those 2 to 5 year pro formas people throw together look a little silly sometimes.
Yeah, it's not always as seen on TV, that's for sure.
For sure.
It's a different animal once you start actually getting in the weeds of it.
All right. So how did you end up getting into this multifamily space? What was that first job? You started at an Apple store, which isn't what I would think of when you're trying to get into multifamily, but that was what you ended up doing.
Even predating the Apple store, I had just a storied career. I've always loved working from an early age. Started working probably from an age I shouldn't disclose, where it was probably skirting some labor laws, but actually weirdly started in the concert production space, which was especially relevant given where we're filming today.
Thank you, ICOM. Appreciate you letting us use the conference room.
Huge shout out. Appreciate that. And did everything from that to valet parking to doing event bartending and everything in between. But relevant to our story today was working at the Apple store. And it was honestly to date still one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. It's just you get to talk to people and get paid to hang out, and your colleagues are the most eclectic, interesting human beings that you ever get a chance to meet. And it's just a really fun opportunity. And it really is kind of a level playing field of the people walking in the door, everything from people that are getting ready to go off to college to creative professionals that are looking to equip their business to be successful to board of directors of fascinating Fortune 500 companies. It's just a really interesting group, but was able to utilize that to really network and meet some interesting groups. During my time there, I really gravitated toward business sales and got to work with a lot of companies, whether it be the Minnetonka Public School District or we did a lot of work with some really large, interesting munitions companies and
ammunitions companies?
Ammunitions company,
Very cool.
ATK, and did a lot of work with wide variety of them, and get to just sit down and have these really relaxed, kind of disarmed conversations with people that are quite high up in these organizations, and really hear kind of what their pain points are, what is going well for them, what's going poorly. We had the opportunity to go through, hear what their pain points were, in addition to just providing them with products, connecting them in with different vendors that we had pre-vetted to help them out with whatever their particular applications were. But
so kind of went in it from like an IT consulting standpoint of like, how can we help integrate systems to make you better from an IT standpoint?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And so from that was able to parlay that into a consistent client that was coming in, and that was a company called Arts-Based Projects. And so for that was able to work into overseeing all of their IT infrastructure and helping them out. And so that was a really interesting piece, from overseeing the purchasing of all of their equipment, managing server uptime, and technology deployment across both their corporate office and all of their properties nationwide.
So the Art Space project, what did this company do? What was their background?
Great question. So Art Space Projects is the nation's largest affordable housing developer for the arts.
Awesome.
The concept behind it was becoming economically unfeasible for people in the arts to be able to pursue their passions in a full-time capacity and be able to live. And so there was a carve-out made for being able to provide affordable housing for people, particularly in the arts, to make it so they had kind of one less stressor on their plate, to be able to really be able to focus on their arts and their community, and also, frankly, provide a collaborative environment to work with other artists and learn from each other on what was going well and how to kind of leverage their business into making a little bit more of a fruitful economic adventure for them. So
is this like a heavily subsidized company, so to speak, where the government has provided certain carve-outs to where they can purchase a building at a significant discount or operate it at a discount compared to a traditional landlord?
Yeah, so it is a affordable housing provider. It's a nonprofit company, so it's a beautiful mission group.
Awesome.
The lion's share of what they have for real estate assets is in the multifamily space, although they do have some performance arts centers, some theaters, and other relevant buildings. But most of it's in the multifamily space. A lot of what they utilize is the LIHTC, the LIHTC. It's Section 42 program. Low income tax, historic tax credit. No, sorry. We can cut that part out. That would be great.
Okay.
I'll
reset.
So a lot of what they utilize is the LIHTC program, most commonly known as Section 42. It's basically a government subsidized program that makes it so they offer tax credits that are available to investors that are funding a good chunk of the project. In exchange, the developers agreeing to only go up to certain income maxes.
So there's an income screening requirement that happens with all the tenants.
Correct. In exchange, there's a rent max limit that the developer can charge up to. That goes up over time based on average median income, and is calculated from there. It's dictated by HUD.
Sweet. So that you kind of get connected with this company, a property management company that specializes in these low-income housing properties that kind of heavily utilize these kind of government programs as well.
Correct. Yep. And absolutely love the mission of the company. It's an awesome organization. Still do some work with them and really believe in their mission. But hated IT with a burning passion. It really brings out the worst in human beings. And it's in that moment of frustration. IT always seems to fail us when we are about to go into a presentation of a city council or whatever the case may be. So,
and then everyone's yelling.
Everyone's yelling. It's always your fault as the IT guy.
Of course,
really wanted to transition out of that space. So was able to work with the president of the company and start transitioning into a more consulting capacity, and ultimately ended up leaving with the co-founder of the company, who is branching off to do for-profit consulting. So he brought me with, and was able to focus more on that side of things.
So that's how you got into the consulting space.
Correct. So started doing some work with him, and we were doing owner's rep consulting work. And so he had a deep amount of experience, been in the industry for a long time. I'm not going to say how much out of respect for his age, but he has
experience.
Experience. And he took a chance on me, and that was just so generous and kind. And so we were in startup status. There were two of us. And so there were a lot of moments where we'd go into do a meeting, and immediately you're the director of leasing in this meeting. And now in the next meeting, you're director of marketing or director of investor relations, or, you
gotta wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of hats.
There's nothing outside of your job description. So really fun. But at the end of the day, it really came down to problem solving. So you have this core issue and building a team behind it to fix it. So was doing a lot of consulting work with him for all of these really interesting, unique projects around the country. Some of the most interesting ones in the Twin Cities based were Schmidt Artist Lofts, which is a beautiful brewery castle that was built in the 1800s, able to be redone by our client Dominium, and it's just a spectacularly interesting structure. Affordable artist housing, so it kind of paid homage to a lot of the work we were doing at Art Space, but in a for-profit capacity. So really interesting project. Amo Artist Lofts in Minneapolis, the old Pillsbury factory, also Dominium. Really interesting deal. We did a really fun one in St. Louis, Missouri called the Arcade Artist Lofts. That was a blended affordable artist housing paired with some market rate space. And the lion's share of my work during those pieces was overseeing a lot of the marketing efforts and the leasing piece of it.
Leasing up. So when you're doing these artist lofts, these are for profit, so they don't take some of these tax breaks, tax benefits that the previous company you worked with did. So what was special about the model there that allowed that to work out? Because I'm familiar with Schmidt. You know, I have some friends of mine in the art space that they were able to, they've lived there. And I know part of the requirement was that you had to show that you were an artist in one way or another working in that field. So I'm curious how that, without the tax credits, what was the way you guys structured that to be successful?
So for Schmidt, Amil, and Arcade, all of those did also leverage tax credits. So tax credits don't have the prerequisite of being a nonprofit. Nonprofits do have the additional capital stack of receiving a lot more grant money, foundation money, other financing means, in addition to traditional financing of mortgage, etc.
And so a lot of that experience you had at this previous company really came into play of like, well, I've seen how this is done before. This is what you need to do in order to make this work. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then taking that all the way through to the user experience, getting to see what worked well, what went poorly. With every project that we were doing, it was iterative growth, where we were going through and talking to the actual residents and the population we were serving and saying what went well, what went poorly, how can we improve this in future iterations. And we had some champions that would actually move from project to project as we'd open up new ones, and really got to actually, in a cool way, take advantage of a lot of the pieces of feedback that they were giving us. So really fun way of getting to do it.
That's awesome, man.
So I got to do a lot of pieces around the country for the owner's rep type work with that gentleman. And a consistent issue that we were running into were the site teams would have a hard time executing on the leasing component of the properties that we were developing. And so in a moment of frustration, went through and said, you know what, I feel like we can do this better. So started off in kind of a ragtag fashion of building this kind of Robin Hood crew of former bartenders, personal trainers, just charming, gregarious people that had
the most charming people you can ever meet.
100% that could, snow cone doing it, Eskimo and all of that. And ended up having kind of a breath of fresh air of introducing them into the space, teaching them all about the property management side of things, and seeing just incredible results from it. So that's been in place since 2012, and we've been on a really cool growth curve, doing a lot of accelerated leasing work and helping both in the marketing consulting work.
And so this is a separate company you kind of started, you kind of attached to your consulting business, correct? And this company is specifically specializing in leasing up either distressed or specifically development projects that had, you started out, you finished construction, and you have 0 tenants. And you're going from 0 to 100 in the course of a handful of months.
Correct.
Or 6 months or whatever the period timeline is.
Depending on unit count. So for the longest time, our business model was just take it from 0 to 100% occupancy, predominantly working on affordable housing projects, because you have a lot of times with these tax credits requirements that you're hitting certain occupancy percentages, usually by December 31st of that year. So a lot of urgency put on that to make sure that we're achieving that result. So that was one of the main core businesses. It's in its current iteration called Leasing Pros. We just rebranded. It's a little bit more succinct with what we do.
Awesome.
I'll touch on that, and then I'll circle back to the other pieces.
But no, that's an incredible business, and I think leasing is definitely one of the big things, and turnover being the biggest when it comes to real estate in general, and also that holding cost of like when you have a vacant unit. That's what completely kills you. So as someone who's probably leased up thousands of units, your company as a whole, what are some of the tips on how to get those lease ups done quickly in a timely fashion with quality tenants.
Definitely. Some of our secret sauce that we've developed over the years has been both, the personality of the agents that we have in. And so that is non-negotiable for me. So everyone that we're hiring and bringing on is just charming, gregarious, really good listeners, and just lovely people that are really good at building a connection, listening to both what's being said and what's not being said to really understand the needs of the prospects coming in the door. Second piece, we've built a lot of proprietary software that does really good analytic reporting, and we're able to chart trends and determine in real time what lease-up schedules are looking like, how to address if things are trending a certain direction before it becomes a problem. And
what are some of those indicators you look at?
A lot of it is hyper tracking our leads coming in the door. And so for that, it's tracking trends over time. We believe in an agile approach of going through. We do daily reporting where everything that happens day to day gets reported to ownership structure as well as ourselves. We analyze it in a deep dive once a week, and then we do weekly check-ins with our client base as well to go through. I don't ever want to be a reactive vendor, so I always want to make sure that we're being as proactive as possible. As soon as we see things start trending in a direction where it's not a statistical outlier, but it's trending, that's where we want to be proactive with it. We do a lot of deep dive research on what our market is doing, make sure we understand what all of our competitive advantages and disadvantages are to make sure we're addressing those, and providing a really competitive price and incentive to perspectives coming in. That, and then just a really fast and thorough response time. In our industry, all of it comes down to who is the first to respond. And if you're able to respond to a tenant within 7 minutes of them reaching out, the probability of them renting goes up exponentially, and it goes down on the other side exponentially the longer you wait to respond. So
7 minutes, that's the likelihood that you've measured?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. On average, from a metric perspective, we are able to, our team has been able to consistently lease up properties in 1/3 the time of what the team was doing prior to our involvement. And
so you are the master at lease ups.
It's super fun. Our record to date is 19x, but that one was an outlier for a lot of reasons. So I don't know if that's a really genuine way to do it, but I would say a 3.4 is our
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Multiplier.
Oh, that's key, and I love the focus you have on the communication with your clients too. Like we just had to fire our property management company at my apartment building in Iowa, and a lot of that was due to lack of communication and also a lack of ability to lease up units. And some of that even had to do with quality issues that were never communicated. Yeah. And these were all things. It was like, if you would have let me know, we could have solved some of this, but it was just like radio silent.
At the end of the day, our secret sauce really is our people, and I believe massively in retention. I think one of the biggest travesties of the multifamily space is that the leasing agent is the most undervalued person there, but yet ironically the most important. Because frankly, without the ability to lease to tenants, you're foregoing your income coming in the door, and without a good customer experience journey, like no one's going to want to live there, regardless of what your product is. So
100%.
It's I've always believed in paying people well and working to retain. And awesome. I would be nothing without my team, and I'm very aware of that on a daily basis.
I love that. That's awesome. What are some of the the tips you've developed, or the things you developed, values you developed when it comes to encouraging your company culture?
For company culture, it really comes down to trying to think of how to phrase things that I won't be cliche, to be completely honest. A lot of it is making sure you're appropriately compensating them, but a lot of it is just listening to people, making sure that you are understanding what motivates people. It varies employee to employee. Some people are motivated strictly by financial compensation. Others are motivated by time off. Others are motivated by recognition. Really understanding that piece is, awesome. I think, crucial. Being available. I believe in a really horizontal company culture too. I believe in being accessible to every person that works with me. I don't believe in saying people work for me. It's a fully collaborative environment. I view my role as basically being a snowplow. My goal is to clear the road and make it so that way they're able to have smooth sailing and go without reaching impediments.
I love that. Well, I've often thought of my job as the owner is to move obstacles out of my employees' way.
Completely.
That's the whole thing. They want to work, they want to do a good job, but I need to provide them with the tools or get rid of the obstacles to prevent them from doing that.
Yeah. Awesome. One of my other core tenets that I strongly encourage everybody that works with me with is everybody makes mistakes. I make more than anyone I know, and I fully believe in failing forward. My biggest piece that I tell everyone until I'm blue in the face is everyone makes mistakes. I will never be mad at people for making mistakes.
Yep.
My main thing is when they do, let me know, and also let me know what your plan is for revising it and how we're going to avoid this in the future.
Yep.
And as long as we're using it as a learning experience and a way to improve and work towards a solution together. I have a pet peeve of people complain just to complain, but if you're coming to me with this is the problem, this is how we're going to fix it, or coming in a collaborative sense of help me figure out a solution to fix this, I'm always open for that, and I love it. And I have a brilliant team of people that are able to come up with solutions I wouldn't even dream of coming up with. And they're so creative, and I've said it before, but I will say it again. I'm nothing without my team. They are a phenomenal group of human beings.
I love that.
Just love deeply.
I think right there, that's a great masterclass, and running any business. It has to do with, your people, retention, and being there to listen to the people and then listening to the problems. Because if you're so focused on got to report to so-and-so and so-and-so, or trying to hold people responsible for these mistakes they've made while not focusing on learning from those mistakes, being a big one.
I also believe in a nimble approach. And frankly, when people are coming in, and I love when new team members say, why are we using this software? There's this other one that works better. Let's change it today. Immediately.
Done.
I believe in nimble changes.
You are now the head of incorporating that change you just suggested.
100%.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm open to, and to a point of borderline annoyance. I love change, and I...
a little whiplash some of your employees are getting.
But honestly, if there's a way that I can save everyone a few hours out of their day or a few minutes out of their day, I will implement that.
That's awesome.
Any day of the week.
And I'm sure that encourages a bit of ownership from that new employee, the new team member. They come in, they suggest something, and then it's implemented by the owner of yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that that helps with that retention of they're feeling heard. They feel the ownership of this is something I put into this company.
Yeah.
I think that's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was the next step after this? Because you bought real estate at some point, I believe.
Yeah, so that one started in 2012. That one's still going to date. One other venture that happened with that in an expansion is in COVID, obviously, there's the eviction moratorium. That lifted in 2021, 2022, depending on the state. And with that, you had all of these legacy assets that were circa 1960, 70, 80 that were historically always full, 95+%.
Nope.
Now you have mass evictions and you have huge vacancies. So you have some of these assets that are operating at 70, 60, 50, in some cases 40% occupancy. They're not breaking even. And so that brought another branch of our company that then focuses on restabilizations of legacy assets. And so right now that occupies a huge percentage of what we're doing in conjunction with lease ups.
Awesome.
So it's been really fun to get to do both of those. And
I love that, man.
It's been neat. So super proud of that group, super proud of those teams.
And way to pivot as well, as you just mentioned, and taking advantage of this new opportunity. And then, there's plenty of distressed properties even now after COVID.
Yeah.
And so there's some great opportunity there, and you're helping out a lot of great people, I assure you.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
So that was that asset. And then over a period of time, while doing work with that other gentleman, he was presented with an opportunity to purchase a asset from ArtSpace, which is that former company that we both worked at. So they were offloading an asset, no longer was a programmatic fit for what they were looking for. Wanted to open up some cash flows for some other assets that they're looking to invest in. And so he actually acquired one of their buildings and then brought me on to help on the operating side. And so he, myself, and two other gentlemen then started going through buying some of the offloaded assets from them. So that's kind of the second pillar of what we've
awesome
got rolling, and that's been really fun to get to go through and implement a lot of the things that we were already doing for other people in an owner's rep capacity, but for ourselves. And so
I'm sure your units get leased up very quickly.
They do. So we do utilize our own team on all of our assets to great success, actually.
I love
It's
that.
been really fun to get to go through and be a user of my own teams as well.
Get some feedback really from yourself. And are you using similar tax advantage strategies as the art space projects in these buildings when you acquired them?
For some of them, we're doing a new construction development in Northeast Minneapolis.
Okay.
That one we're doing actually as a joint venture with Art Space Projects. Okay. For that one, we are utilizing historic tax credits, so cool. Not the affordable housing ones because it's not a multifamily deal. That one will be a light industrial product, but that one we are using historic. That's another huge soft spot for both him and I. We have an infatuation for beautiful historic structures, and they definitely are a labor of love. Way more work and way more headaches to be able to deal with that side of things. But man, there's nothing quite as satisfying as being able to go through and really return it to what it was initially architecturally intended to be, and preserve that history in these communities. And a lot of them have fun new twists to it. Schmidt and Amel are great examples of that. Both of those also utilized historic tax credits.
Awesome.
But
you're preserving history. That's a great way to put it. And some of these buildings, like some of the new ones they got coming out, it's kind of boring. It's just like flat walls, and you got some stainless steel. That's great, but other than that, it's kind of the same old. The joke is every apartment building looks the same. Every new construction apartment building looks the same. So I'm sure these restoration 100%. Projects are just unique unto themselves.
They're so fun and interesting. Each one has their own personality to it, and you're spot on accurate. There's nothing that's a greater pet peeve to me than the 6-story. Regardless of where you're in the country, they all look identical, and there's just no creative energy put into it. It's just really fun to have something that really stands out, and it also forces a lot more creativity of how to utilize the space that frankly wasn't initially built to be multifamily housing. So
that's awesome.
It's really fun. We have some really cool projects coming down the pipeline, and some really fun repositions that are going to be happening where we're repurposing some old office product into some multi-use space, and it'll be really, really fun coming down the road.
What's the average size of these projects you're doing?
It really varies. For some of the ones coming down the pipeline, those will be in the 100 to 300 square foot space.
Awesome.
So not skyscrapers, but large structures.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know. And a lot of this, you said you're repurposing a building that was intended for a different purpose.
Yeah.
So some commercial building that's vacant now or something like that you're now repurposing into apartment complexes.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's exciting. I love
Super fun.
There's a lot of vacant commercial office space in downtown Minneapolis that needs some love. So I'm glad that you're on it.
It's desperately needed, and you can see it all over the country. But it's also fun to, there are a lot of times that I catch myself complaining about the state of Minneapolis, for example. But you can either go through. I find that real estate professionals have two ways that they go. They either go through and say everything's roses and sunshine, which just transparently it's not. There's a lot of room for improvement. Or you complain about it, and there are very few people that are actively taking steps to improve it. And I would always rather be on the side of improving and making things better than the inverse.
And for these redevelopment projects, are you typically able to accomplish kind of that the construction under replacement cost of what it would cost a similar size apartment building to be built? Or is it kind of similar?
It really varies. It depends on the capital stack for each one. That's a little bit deeper of a...
No worries, very deep. Well, and I know you've mentioned in the past how like most of the deals you've done, there's a lot of creative elements to it, whether it's a tax credit, whether it's a grant structure and all those sort of things. And so you're constantly looking for these different ways to, cut down that capital stack in one way or another where you don't have to come in with as much down, or you wouldn't have been able to do the project anyway unless you had implemented some of these kind of creative alternatives.
Precisely.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was the second pillar, which was going for a period of time. And that leads to the third, which over a period of time was having a conversation with one of my neighbors, and they had a business plan they were super passionate about.
Yep.
They were having a hard time securing financing due to they were just financially leveraged really hard, weren't in a situation where a lot of banking entities would loan them extra funds. So I was able to go through and help provide some seed funding to them, as well as some business consulting pieces. We're able to go through, get a really cool, it was an organic dog treat company, get that off the ground running. They are wildly brilliant entrepreneurs in and of their own right, and would not have been successful without them and their genius. So that was predominantly through the wife. The husband is one of the best chefs I've ever had the pleasure of having the food of, and he wanted to do a culinary business, predominantly catering. And so for that, similar thing. So a year later, saw the success of what we were doing on the other side, which he was deeply involved with as well, and assisted in helping him get to the next level as well.
So you helped them build two different companies, the dog treat and the catering business.
Yeah, and just kind of expand out some of the business side, take some of the boring stuff off their plate.
Sure.
That transition over a period of time ended up helping a picture framing business, helping somebody with a construction business, and it just kind of organically kept evolving. All of it was word of mouth, also helping different people out. So that has somewhat accidentally led into a business consulting, doing some management consulting, and kind of like really micro Shark Tank type deals where we're investing in different businesses, helping build and scale on the business side of things. And so I had the opportunity to do one for a exterior construction company, roofing, gutters, siding, all of that fun stuff. Was able to go through, and they contracted me out to help. They had kind of stagnated in sales and were really having a hard time getting their business to the next level. So they were stuck around the $3 million a year mark, and really were having a hard time with that ceiling. And so was able to go through, build a lot of policies, procedures, figure out a lot of the human resources side of things, build a sales team up that were able to go through. And within 12 months of working with them, we were able to expand out their model in a significant way and get them up to 25 million in sales within 1 year, which was a huge growth.
That's insane. So from 3 to 25 in a year.
Yeah. So
that's insane.
It was a really fun expansion growth there. From that, we departed, and I am currently helping some other gentlemen build and scale exterior construction company. I utilize them on my own commercial development deals, so everything is starting to.
It's a couple of clients there. Perfect. Love it.
Same vertical, but it's been really fun to get to do that. And one of the core pieces of everything I do is I love working collaboratively with friends and people I care about, and it's been really fun to get to help empower people to go and pursue passions and what they're really, really good at, take a lot of the stuff that they hate doing off their plate. And so that way they can focus on what they love doing and really thrive in success on that front.
You're helping them structure their companies in a way where they can focus on what they're really good at. Yeah. And you can kind of help systematize these other aspects of the business that they're kind of struggling with.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's an incredible journey, and honestly, I'm jealous in some of the amazing opportunities you've been able to be a part of. It's great, the experience you've built, and you didn't suddenly become insanely good at this. You did it slowly over time. Where started out with the Apple Store, started out with IT systems, started out with the leasing companies, and over time building out these great systems, and kind of having enough of the repetition where you're kind of building those skill sets in order to instantly be able to recognize these issues as you come across them.
Yeah. Awesome. And all of it's been, a lot of the pieces feel unrelated from an outside perspective, but when at the end of the day, it all comes down to problem solving, listening to what the customer issue is, and then my skill set has always been people. I've been very spoiled to have just a spectacular team of people around me, and retain them and be able to go through their other side ventures. I built a casino, helped a buddy build a casino business in Illinois for a period of time. I helped do a corporate restructure of a Fortune 5 company. a few years back, and a few other things, but all of it came down to the ability of being able to go through, identify a problem from an outside perspective, and then build a team to be able to actually execute on whatever that mission may be. 2.5 billion worth of real estate. There's a significant chunk, I don't want to say the amount of real estate that is under ownership.
Awesome.
Being worked on, both currently under ownership and in pipeline. Had just under 600 people that have been a direct report over the years, which has been really fun.
Awesome,
almost all of which I'm still in contact with and have a pretty good relationship with. Spoiled to get to call friends. For the corporate restructure, we were able to make them an initial $1.7 billion per annum by some of the changes that we made to help out that. So I suppose a little bit closer to $5 billion. And
yes, sorry,
some of these
you
other
miscounted
companies,
it by $1 billion.
I
so
did,
sorry.
yeah.
So sorry.
For the casino business, we took that from a $60,000 loan to, at my time of departure, it was valued at about $130 million, and that was in about an 18-month period of time.
What's the key here? In you are achieving such like incredible accelerated growth.
Yeah.
You know, with several of these companies, you're growing, you know, exponentially over a 2-year span. What do you think is the common mistake people are making where they're getting stuck at these different mile markers and not able to grow at the pace that you've seen happen several times?
Yeah. I think the risk of being repetitive, a lot of it is my team. I wouldn't have any of the successes I do without the people around me. You know, a huge shout out to my business partner, Tom Nordyke. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. I wouldn't be a fraction of who I am without him. You know, Leasing Pros, Tim Stein is our director of leasing. He's a genius and has helped grow that to what it is. You know, I've really been spoiled by having some spectacular people in my life. And for the casino business, the owner and founder, Jeff Rayberger, wouldn't be anything without him. He was one of the most brilliant financial minds I've ever had the opportunity to work with. So there's, for each company, you know, my component of it, I feel like is a relatively small piece. I've just, my skill set really is in building and curating a really strong team, knowing my shortcomings and finding people that compensate for it. I think that there's a little bit of intentional stupidity on things, of me being able to go through and take things where people just say it's not possible, it can't be done, and just saying,
well, let me try.
I think it can.
Yeah.
And frequently, it can be. I believe admitting when you're wrong and being willing to, I think that the way that I want to do things is rarely the correct way. So a lot of times the people on my team have better ideas than I do. And it's been really nice to be able to go through and admit that that's, there are other ways of doing it. At the end of the day, the core tenets have always been treat people honestly, ethically, fairly, try to treat people well, and honestly operate in core Christian principles of doing right by people, doing right by the customer. Whenever we've had businesses where the core principle is doing right by our tenants, doing right by our clients, doing right by our customers, you know, spending a little extra cost on the front end, that just generates the word of mouth referral. And I would always rather lose a little bit of money in the short term to be able to do it the right way.
I feel a lot of this has to do with your humility when it comes to how you approach these issues. Maybe it seems that what you're saying is, you know, a lot of the issues that people are coming across that stunt their growth is simply them not realizing soon enough or not admitting to that they're doing something wrong, or they're making a flawed error, and they're not willing to really look at themselves transparently or ask for help from someone who knows a little bit more and is able to help them out in that area. They kind of get stuck.
I also believe in macro management. You know, the people that I'm bringing on to do these different tasks, they are the best at what they do. And so having me have to be involved in every single meeting, every single decision, everything else, I really believe in empowering my people to do what they need to do and execute on their own piece. I am never the smartest person in the room, but being able to go through and really build a team and allow them to just kind of let go of the reins, and then just make sure I'm guiding and allowing them to operate without any obstacles on the road.
That's awesome.
So that's a secret. It's a multiplier.
I love it. I love it, man. Awesome. Well, for someone who's kind of just getting started, say they're either looking to invest in real estate or maybe they want to build their own company, what would you be like your biggest tip for them as they're looking to get started? If you were to do it all over again, how would you do it again?
Yeah. Honestly, there's so many ways to make money in today's world, and honestly, some of the most lucrative ways are the less glamorous ones. A really good example someone gave me the other day is, one of the best businesses to be in is in the septic pumping business. It's what's the alternative? If you're not going to pay someone, you're literally going to have a mess on your hands. And so some of those are the best ones to get into. I feel pretty strongly that there's no requirement for a college degree to be successful. In fact, some of the most successful people I know don't have one. It really comes down to looking at what is the problem that a customer is facing, and how do you address that, and do it in something that you're passionate about. It's consulting 101 is what is something that you find to be easy, second nature, or not even easy is the wrong word, but something that you find challenging, exciting. I would use like an escape room mentality, right? Like it's challenging, it makes your brain work, but it's fun, it's exciting. You're doing it collaboratively.
You leave it with more energy.
Exactly. So find something that you have that mentality on, and then find a customer basis that has the exact opposite, that views that as the biggest headache, the bane of their day. A CPA is a great example, right? Like if I had to go through and I file people's taxes all day long, that is my personal hell. However, thank God that there are people that love doing that are detail oriented, that love spreadsheets and get excited and amped up by doing that. That differential is where value is created.
Find the biggest problem that you're excited to solve and just keep solving it.
100%.
That's awesome.
And then find a customer basis that doesn't want to deal with it. And that differential is where there's a lot of value.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I think that's it, man.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you coming on. I feel like there's a lot of value packed in there. Thinking about people growing different companies and the hearing from the experiences that you've made along the way. So it's just exciting to hear.
Yeah,
appreciate it. How can anyone get in contact with you, or how could anyone follow up with you?
Definitely. So for any contract leasing work for multifamily housing, that would be through leasing-pros.com.
Awesome.
For anything that's general consulting, whether that be business consulting or owner's rep type work, that's Citadel Group. So that's citadelgroupusa.com. For anything on the development space, that would be tgrdev.com. And just in general, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Aaron Hauge, and love to help collaborate.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man.
See ya.
Thank you for watching the Million Ways to Millions podcast. I hope this episode helped offer some encouragement to you on your own path to building wealth, retirement, and financial stability. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing on your podcast platform of choice. If you want to watch the video version, check it out on my YouTube channel, Micah Hayworth. If you want to see more, follow me on Instagram at Micah Hayworth or Twitter at House Hayworth. Thanks for watching.